Hey guys, and welcome to a brief little overview of a track that I did for Spitfire Audios' newly released Albion One, which is kind of a sequel to the original Albion One, a library about, or an orchestral library, mainly concentrating on orchestral sections, like strings, brass, woodwinds, and a little bit of percussion, and some nice little goodies in there as well. And they have taken the concept of Albion One and entirely re-recorded the content. So you have new recordings of strings, brass, woodwinds, and so I did a little track with it. And first, let's listen through it, and then we may take a closer look into the library. So here it goes. So that's the track, and for the sake of going through individual sounds of the library, I'm gonna switch off all the reverb that I used for the cues. So everything you're about to hear now is what comes out of the library. Except for the only processing I have going on is some little EQing, kind of a little bit of a low cut, and oh wait, we just switched that off as well, so then we're on the same boat there. Okay, so this is pretty much no processing besides some limiting on the master output. So yeah, the library. It comes with, let's have a short look at the patches. So you have the orchestra patches, brass high, low, mid, strings, woodwinds high and low. Despite what they did in the original Albion One, where you had high strings and low strings, they are not separated anymore, so you just get one string patch. And I personally don't like key switches that much. That's why I have set up a MIDI channel per articulation. Obviously, you can also load the entire string patch, for example. Let's load that here. And have all the articulations available at once. And don't need to do individual MIDI tracks. So when the patch loads, that's pretty much the setup as it comes out of the box. So, well, Spitfire is known for having different microphone positions. The patch loads with the tree mic loaded. Let's just take a short listen through the positions. So 3. So close mic. In my opinion, it's way more dry than the original Albion One, at least the close mic. And then you got the ambient mics. And the outriggers. And obviously you can combine these, like say you want the tree and a little bit of close for definition. Or giving it more room even. For this demo I went with the outriggers and a little bit of close. Which is still, a rather dry sound. And I've just added a little bit of Quantum Leap Spaces, California Hall with 3.3 seconds, -10 wet signal, and I put the dry signal 1 dB down to push the strings a little bit further back. And yeah, that's for the reverb, but let's turn that off for now and take a closer look at what we have here. So obviously I played the spiccatos, then you got spiccato staccato, the pizzicatos, Cogliano. They sound gorgeous in my opinion. Then you got the longs patch, so full stringing ensemble long notes, and they react to mod wheel for volume. They feel really, really responsive. So the dynamic range is it's pretty well programmed. And this time, this is new. You also got a vibrato control for the longs on CC21. What was this? Okay. Can delete that. Then you got the Concertino patch, which is also the vibrato is controllable on that one. First time you got tremolos. These haven't been included in the original Albion One. And low octave shorts. plus the low octaves long. Again, dynamics controllable via mode wheel. And then you got the legato patches for the strings, which are legato high octaves. Legato mids. And the legato low octaves. Another addition that is new to Albion are the run patches, which are pre-recorded runs, and you got tons of key switches, tons of different runs. Let's just have a look at some of these. Where are we? There we are. So that's pretty awesome. You got major, minor, and yeah, chromatic. I'm not entirely sure how they meant the mapping, so it jumps a lot from articulation to articulation. Haven't figured a way how to just memorize where which setting was, so just keep looking on the GUI to actually know where what is. And you can hear some little artifacts, so these are synced to the host tempo. So when I go to 150, which is the original recording time, we go to 80 or something. Did it react? Oh, okay, I got the locked patch there. So that's let me look that up. So when we use this one, it should synchronize to the host tempo. Where was it? Okay, just changing mic positions here to get the same result as with the other ones. And I think I had, yeah, dropped the volume a little bit on these. So, are these... Not really sure why that doesn't work. Maybe it was the locked patch still. Somehow it seemed to synchronize with my playback, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here right now. So obviously there's right now no difference in the tempo. Who knows? I would try to figure out. Sometimes I have the feeling they're kind of time stretched or something like that because they have audible artifacts and sound like time stretched. I just used 2 or 3 runs in this cue, and yeah, why not listen to the strings on their own here? Yeah, that's the strings on their own and without processing. So straight out of the box, 2 mic positions, close and outrigger. Yeah, I didn't put these onto grid, the runs, but kind of listened where it ended and adjusted the starting position so that they end on the beat. So obviously it's not that time stretched. Into the long strings here, it's pretty subtle movement in the mod wheel, but it translates gorgeous to how the whole string section behaves. And when you combine that with the melody on top, like we have it here. So the entire strings sound pretty rad in my opinion, so really cool stuff. Coming over to the brass. High shorts, short octaves. Long octaves. High legato. And the mid shorts. Legatos. And for the brass I did quite the same, so same mic positions with a close mic and the outrigger, and they're pretty dry in this setting, so I just added the quantum leap spaces. Use the brass hall and push them a little bit further back. So with the dry signal you can actually kind of move them further and further away from the listening position. compared to pushing the brass a little bit in the back of the stage, and together with the strings, just playing the last section here. Playing on its own. That last one might be a little bit too long. And yeah, taking a closer look at the woodwind section. Overall, I had the feeling that they really worked on the short articulations, whereas in the original Albion One, I felt they were lacking a little bit of bite and were kind of has slow attacks and were not really consistent overall. These new shorts are simply amazing. And they have a new patch arranged shorts and longs, which is kind of ideally comparable with the longs. When you push a chord, and compare that to the arranged longs. This is pretty cool, and especially when you develop from a woodwind line and then change from the long patch to the arranged long patch, like I did here in the track. Change that happened here. It's pretty much going on with more or less the same two notes, so just pairs of two notes, but with the change of the patch it sounds absolutely incredible. That's a little mini mistake in there. And there as well. Wait a second. Okay. That works. Well, might be better to check your MIDI data. Sorry. Yeah, the high legatos, pretty much the same as with the strings and with the brass, really responsive. I think I even duplicated the string run here, at least tried to. Works pretty great when you put these two together. Where are the runs? There. That's pretty nice. And obviously, when you listen to these on their own, you can hear the flaws of fast legato playing, but in the context of the mix, it pretty much gets drowned, so that you just get the effect of having a run back there, and you can really recognize that there might be some transitional problems between the fast legato, but it works pretty well overall in the arrangement. I think you can even do it faster. So having something like that in the background of a cue might work even without recorded runs. The longs are bone-crushing deep. That's actually pretty fun. Especially when you layer low strings, low brass, and low legatos or low woodwinds. That's kind of insta-Bram. And last but not least, let's talk about the percussion. You've got the Darwin Percussion Ensemble. Might switch on my dynamic processing here. I just put some multiband compressor to tame a little bit the very low end around 70 Hertz. When I switch it off, it gets really boomy, and these just care a little bit about the dynamics and tame them a little bit. We got pretty much all the range from low to high, sub hits, low hits, mid hits, high, stick, and medals. You can also rearrange the keys for every hit, so you can really personalize that to your own preferences. One thing that I noticed with the percussion, I'm pretty sure that Spitfire will fix that in a soon-to-be-released update. There are some phasing issue when you try to use more microphone positions, especially in the mid-hits, for example. So watch what happens when I activate the ambient mics for these. You get some really heavy phasing issues, so I think that the samples are not correctly aligned there. So I went with close and tree sound for the percussion, and obviously there is no outrigger signal, so I couldn't use the same setup as for the other instruments. But as I said, the Spitfire guys are really fast when it comes to updating and fixing some of the issues with their sample libraries, so I'm pretty sure if it is not released yet, it will come soon that they fix these kind of issues. So like I said here with the phasing issue, for now I just switched that off, and then it's not a problem. The Easter Island hits, they have been included in the original Albion as well. It's just mad. Why does that not work? Oh, okay. I wouldn't recommend listening to that part on laptop speakers. You might not hear anything. These are just gorgeous. And then some hypertones. Some different, more percussion elements. The cymbals from the original Albion, I already loved these. back then, so very glad they're in here as well. Some gongs. Awesome sound. And some really nice swells, which are kind of hard to recreate the samples alone. And last but not least, and I have to admit this would be a completely different thing in a different video walkthrough. I just scratched the surface here. If you want to know more about that, head over to the Spitfire Audio channel. There's a bunch of walkthroughs regarding the Edna engine, which is the kind of synth section of Albion, where they have processed orchestral patches that are run through this engine, and also sound design and synth patches. This is a complete synthesizer in itself, you could say, where you can mangle and tweak the sounds. I just used a small portion, tweaked a little bit on the knobs to make the sound fit for what I had in mind here. Sorry, just dropped myself off. Muting the other channels here. So this is just the synth and piano stuff that I used in the cue. A little bit of percussion on top. And I also used the piano patch from the, as you can see here, they included some legacy patches from the Albion One library. For example, the string effects and that piano stuff, the string effects. And obviously, I just needed to try that out for the cue, is that Megalo Brass, so the classical Brahms sound. I layered it with the low woodwinds, the low brass, and the low strings, but the sound on its own is just amazing if you listen to it. Here. Obviously not needed to add anything to that. Layered that with the lows from the woodwinds and the lows from the brass, the nasty longs. And even these three on their own are, if you take that one, and that one. That's pretty bold. And here, for example, I used a little high effect string from the original Albion One that is included in this library. As I've said, you have the Albion legacy patches, and there with the individual patches you have the string high effects, string low effects. This is stuff that is not newly recorded but from the old library, but still great to have these available. For example, here, nice little riser there. So yeah, that's pretty much what there is to this cue. as I've said, I did just a little processing on the channels. Strings got a little bit of EQ treatment, low cut at around 42 hertz, just the low rumble that is not needed in a mix. Spiced up a little bit the high frequencies and took a little bit out at 400 hertz with a kind of the boxiness of the sound, and gave them a little bit more definition in the low end. Same applies pretty much for brass. Also took out the low rumble and spiced up a little bit the presence. Same for woodwinds, I think, at least, yeah, spiced up a little bit the presence, the lows, and was no need to tweak anything. The low cut is at around 60 hertz, got that a little bit higher. And last but not least, we have the percussion, which I cut at around 37 hertz. Didn't go high because of the Easter Island hits, which go way, way below 60 hertz. So that's just for the ultra low frequencies that are just messing up the mix. And put on some presence and some more definition in the lows. And for the final output, just have a Q filter with no setting, just for checking the frequencies. The VBC rec is kind of a secret weapon. I don't compress anything there, just put it in because it has a slight coloration to the sound that I really love, and it's amazing when you switch that on and off during a cue. When you compare, well, let's take that last part here. Kind of opens up the sound a bit, and I really love that sound. And last but not least, just have some limiting to make it a little bit louder. And that's pretty much what there is to it. Hope you like it. Check out the library on your own. It's really, really versatile, and you can get a lot of sounds out of it. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for watching.